It's important to revisit your will from time to time to make sure that what you intended to have happen when you set it up many years ago is still in place today, so that your wishes will be carried out if unfortunately you happen to pass away. Henry was a perfect example. Henry had 3 kids from his first marriage, divorced, remarried, and set up a will after he was remarried, many years ago, in which he left the maximum amount not subject to estate tax to his kids from the first marriage, and then everything else goes into a trust for his second wife, with everything passing to his children at her death. Well, fast forward now till today, when the exemption increased from $600,000, which is what it was when Henry set up the will, to $5,340,000 today, a significant increase. Take a look at what Henry's assets are. Henry has about $5 million in his name today. So that means that if Henry, God forbid, passed away, all of his assets are going to go to his children from the first marriage and nothing to his second wife. Not at all what Henry intended. So the message here is that if you have a will that's been stuffed in a drawer collecting dust over the past several years, it's important to take a look at the will in addition to your planning documents from time to time to make sure what you intended to happen will in fact happen. In addition to that, there are other documents in addition to the will that should be looked at from time to time that are part of the planning documents. People's retirement accounts, life insurance, generally those type of assets don't pass under the will. They pass either using designated beneficiary forms or by operation of law. So it's important when we're looking at wills and we're looking at our assets that we look at these other forms, which sometimes get neglected. Let's say mom and dad set up a will. It was a beautiful will, perfectly executed. A certain amount at the first death would go to selected charities that mom and dad picked out, and everything else would go into a trust for the benefit of the surviving spouse. The plan was set up so that hopefully at the second death, there would be minimized federal and state estate taxes, and everything would go as it was intended. However, if the assets are entitled properly, this will may not cover anything. Let's say that the assets we have a brokerage account that's held jointly with right of survivorship, an IRA that has a designated beneficiary form where the assets go to the surviving spouse, and a house that's jointly held also, so that if the first person died, by operation of law, would go to the surviving spouse. So the will wouldn't cover anything in this scenario, and the results might not be what we intended. Now, there's an easy fix to this. All we really have to do is go back and retitle the assets. The investment account could be retitled, so it's still jointly held, but under tenants in common, so that the will would cover where half of the assets go. We could do the same thing with the house. Therefore, just by tinkering with how the assets are held, we could put the plan in place exactly like we intended, and the will would cover, unlike where we would be right now if we didn't revisit the plan and make these subtle changes.